In the sweltering heat of Manila's crowded streets, a young Filipino boy named Miguel clutched a battered guitar, its strings worn thin, its body scratched and cracked. It was the only thing he had left from his late father, a man who once sang him to sleep with lullabies and told him that music could heal even the deepest wounds. Miguel's mother worked endless hours as a cleaner, often coming home exhausted, her hands rough from scrubbing floors. With little more than hope in his heart, Miguel stood on busy sidewalks each evening, singing to strangers who passed by without looking, sometimes tossing a coin, sometimes ignoring him completely. He was only 12, but his voice carried a depth far beyond his years. Each note was filled with longing, with the unspoken pain of growing up too soon. He didn't sing for fame or attention, he sang for survival, for his mother's weary smile, and for the memory of his father. In his mind, every song was a prayer. One that might carry his voice beyond the streets, beyond the hunger, beyond the struggle. And though the world barely noticed him, Miguel dreamed of a stage where his voice would finally be heard. One humid afternoon, as Miguel sang his heart out on a street corner, a tourist stopped to listen. Unlike the countless others who hurried past, this man didn't just hear a boy's voice, he felt the story behind it. Moved to tears, he recorded Miguel's performance and uploaded it online. Within days, the video spread across social media, touching hearts around the world. People left comments like, "This boy deserves the biggest stage," and "His voice carries pure soul." For the first time in his life, Miguel's name traveled far beyond Manila's streets. A kind sponsor, inspired by his story, reached out and offered to help him audition for America's Got Talent. The idea seemed impossible. How could a boy who had never left his neighborhood dream of stepping onto one of the world's biggest stages? But his mother, despite her exhaustion, pressed his hands gently and whispered, "Go, hijo. This is your father's dream for you." Boarding the plane, Miguel's heart pounded like a drum. He had no fancy clothes, no polished guitar, only his voice and a dream carried across oceans. As he looked out the window, he whispered, "Papa, this is for you." The bright lights of the America's Got Talent stage nearly blinded Miguel as he stepped forward, his tiny frame dwarfed by the grand theater. Thousands of eyes fixed on him, and for a brief moment, fear gripped his chest. His hands trembled as he held the microphone, and he could feel his heart pounding louder than the cheers. A judge leaned forward and asked gently, "What's your dream, young man?" Miguel swallowed hard and whispered, "To sing, for my father, and for everyone who believes in hope." The music began. His voice started soft, almost fragile, like a whisper in the wind. But as the lyrics flowed, memories of his struggles, his mother's sacrifices, and his father's absence filled him with strength. Each note soared higher, carrying raw emotion that no studio training could ever teach. The theater grew silent. Mothers in the crowd clutched their children, fathers wiped their eyes. The judges sat frozen, captivated, as if the world had stopped to listen. By the final note, Miguel's voice cracked, tears streaming down his face. The audience rose to their feet, clapping and cheering wildly. In that moment, the poor boy from Manila became a star. For a heartbeat, the theater was completely still. Miguel lowered the microphone, his chest heaving, his tear-streaked face glistening under the spotlight. Then, suddenly, an eruption. The entire audience leapt to their feet, cheering and clapping, their voices thundering through the hall. Miguel's eyes widened in disbelief. He had never heard applause like this, never been celebrated, never been seen. One of the judges, their own cheeks wet with tears, stood slowly, pressing a hand over their heart. They looked at Miguel with such tenderness before reaching forward and slamming their palm down on the golden buzzer. The theater exploded. Golden confetti rained down like a shower of blessings, swirling around the small boy as if heaven itself had opened for him. Miguel dropped to his knees, overwhelmed, clutching the broken guitar strap still hanging from his shoulder. He buried his face in his hands, sobbing, not from sadness, but from a joy too big for his little body to contain. The judges rushed to the stage, hugging him, telling him, you are the reason this show exists." For Miguel, it wasn't just a moment of victory, it was proof that even the poorest dreams, when sung with love, could shine brighter than gold. As the golden confetti settled, Miguel stood center stage, still trembling, his small hands clutching the microphone. The judges asked if he wanted to say something. He looked out at the thousands of faces before him, then lifted his gaze upward, as if speaking to someone unseen. "My father used to tell me that music is hope," Miguel said softly, his voice breaking. "When he passed away, I promised I'd never stop singing, even when life was hard, even when people didn't listen. I sang on the streets, not for money, but so he could hear me from heaven. And tonight, I think he did." The audience fell into hushed silence, tears streaming down faces across the hall. His mother, watching from backstage, covered her mouth, her eyes shining with pride. Miguel continued, his voice stronger now, "I want every child who feels small, poor, or forgotten to know, your voice matters. Don't stop dreaming. Don't stop singing." The crowd erupted again, not just in applause, but in love, because they knew they had witnessed more than a performance. They had witnessed the triumph of the human spirit. Miguel had come as a poor boy with a dream, and left as a beacon of hope for the world.